All right, guys. So I know I went over a lot of information. So today we actually set up our unincorporated business trust. And now what I want to do is I want to open up the floor for any questions that you guys might have regarding what we went over today. So if you want to go ahead and raise your hand, I can get started. Okay, Miss Bay, go ahead. Go for it, Miss Bay.
Yes, ma'am. I was up till 5 o'clock this morning. I was going over the business trust last night, and so this is kind of reiterating it for me. I took a nap during the evening, and I ended up staying up all night. So whatever works, right? But
Absolutely.
my question, I have a couple of questions.
Yeah.
Okay, I remember you saying that if you already have a PO box or something, virtual address or something, you can just use it for the three trusts. That same address.
Yes. Yeah, so what I was saying was if you have a an address that you're already using for
My
an
phone
ent
is about.
Okay, can you hear me? Hello? Oh, I think we lost her. Hmm. Okay, so anyway, she'll be able to watch the recording. So if you have an address that you're already using for an entity, for example, if you have an address that you're using for an LLC or a corporation, or another trust, then you can use that address for your trust. So as long as you don't want to use an address like your primary residence and you don't want to use an address that you're like already associated with. So just use, either a brand new address if you can, or use an address that is already like, at like already like a commercial address. All right. So I hope that helps, Miss Bay, and I hope you come back soon. So next we have Katie. Hey, Katie.
Hey there. Thank you so much. This has been so informative. I got great notes. I do have a few questions. Number
Yeah.
one being, can the trust be the business name, or do you suggest it being something totally non-related?
Okay, so do you plan on dissolving the business or continuing to operate the business?
So I actually haven't created it yet. So that's why I'm asking, or you guide me. That wasn't even a thought to even think about.
Okay, no problem. So, okay, two things. One, the business that you're going to create, if you want, you can just operate that business with the business trust. If you
Okay.
don't, if you want to avoid having to go and set up an LLC, you don't need to operate a business with an LLC or a corporation. You can operate a business with a business trust. So that's
Okay.
one thing. The second thing is, let's just say that you wanted to set up an LLC just because it's easier for funding or because it's widely popular and known and stuff like that. Those are all valid reasons, right? And so if you want to do that, the beautiful thing about what you're doing, Katie, is that you are establishing the owner of the LLC or business before you even own the business or before you even created the business, which is good because on paper, you'll never be seen as the authorized member, right? So no lawyer or anyone is ever going to be able to see, hey, Katie was the original owner of this business, okay? So now to answer your question is you want them to have two different names. Can you have the same name? Yes, because they're separate entities, right? So if it was, let's just say that it was Reed Enterprise, right? So you have Reed Enterprise, which is a trust, and then you also have Reed Enterprise, which is an LLC. You could also have Reed Enterprise, which is an Inc. Those are three separate entities, and you can use the same identical name for all three because they're separate entities. What I recommend is that you use a different name, right? So you'll have Reed Enterprise, which is your LLC, and then you can have your business trust. It could be Reed Enterprise Holdings, right? Or something like that, so that you could have some type of difference. But I will tell you this, me myself, I have two entities with the same exact name. So my company is called Seven Ways to Wealth, and it is an LLC with the state, but then I also have Seven Ways to Wealth, which is not an LLC, it is a business trust. So they have the same exact name, but they have two separate EINs, but I do not have Seven Ways to Wealth as the holding company for the LLC. So I don't have it structured that way. I just have two entities with the same name. So I know that was a mouthful.
Okay, but you also brought up another question I had as far as funding.
Yes,
Um,
go for it.
if I do just the business trust, how does that work with funding?
That is a good question. So you can get funding with a business trust, and it's the same exact way. I don't want to say exact, that's not true, because there's more paperwork involved with getting funding for a trust. But can you get funding for a trust? Yes. Can you build credit with a trust? Yes. Can you get a loan, a line of credit, a mortgage, all of these things? Yes, across the board. Okay. So with the when you're getting loans, and if you need to provide like proof of income or anything like that, you have to provide bank statements. Okay, so that's one thing. But two, the paperwork is just going to be a little bit different. Three is we actually have an internal in-house funding specialist. So his name is Brian Dorsey, and he will be able to get you funding directly for your trust or funding for your LLCs and corporations that are owned by your trust. And so he guarantees anywhere between 50 to upwards of 150,000. So he'll be able to assist you with getting funding for your trust.
Okay. And then my last question is it better to show non-family for board of trustee or it doesn't matter?
So it it doesn't matter. So the best practice is to show, like, to show people that you're not related to, but if you have family member, it's okay. It's not like it's not like against the law or anything like that.
Okay. Okay. Thank you
All
so
right.
much.
You're welcome, Katie. All right, next we have Rashad. Hey Rashad, how are you?
Hey, how's it going?
Good, good, good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, doing great, doing great. Thanks again too. I had a question about number 34 under the contributions for the charity.
Okay,
So
perfect.
I think we're going to be making our own faith-based organization.
Yep.
Is it a conflict of interest if we are giving donations to our own organization from our business trust? Is there any kind of a conflict of interest?
No, because it's a separate entity. So you are allowed to, be a board member of another entity, and you are allowed to donate to entities that you serve on their board.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Thanks. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. All right. Mr. Bay, Solomon, you're on mute. How are you?
Thank you. I'm sorry. Thank you for having me.
Oh, how are you?
Well, how are you?
I'm doing
Um,
great.
I have a couple of questions.
Okay.
Can the can a family member be the grantor?
Yes, a family member can be the grantor.
And can the grantor be the protector?
No, the grantor can't hold any other position only as the grantor, because the protector has power. And so the grantor can't serve in a position of power.
Okay. And all of the other positions, like the general trust manager, the executive secretary, are those positions, uh, do they have to be filled right away? Do you have to
No,
have
no, they don't. One, they are optional, and two, if you have, let's just say that you decided that you want to have a board of trustees with only 3 members, then if it's just you, then you only need 2 of those office positions. So you could choose like a general manager and then a secretary, or you could choose a secretary and a treasurer if you're going to be doing the, the operations part. So they are optional and you just choose whichever one you want. And it doesn't have to be right away, but it does need to be eventually for best practice.
Okay, and initially, if I'm not using those positions, do I just edit the document to delete that information out, or do I leave it as such
You
until?
yeah, you leave it until those positions are appointed.
Okay, that's gonna be it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. All right. Thank you for asking that good question. And now we have Cynthia. Hey, Cynthia, how are you?
Hi, Christina. Thank you.
Hi. Hi.
Hi. I have a few questions.
All right,
The
perfect.
first being, I have a pre-existing LLC with EIN.
Perfect.
The birth date for the trust will be once it's completed, like this week or next week. Is that correct?
Yeah, the birthday of the trust is
Yes.
yeah. I mean, if it's today, it's today. Or whatever
Okay.
day, whatever day you you choose.
Okay. My second question is if I have pre-existing property that I want to transfer over into the trust to fund it, but the property is co-owned, what would I have to do? Do I have to get a signature from the co-owner, or can I just transfer the property into the trust?
That is a good question. So when you are going to deed over the property from one person to another, with that deed is going to require all of the people that are currently on the current deed. Okay. So so obviously you have 2 people on the deed, so it's going to require both. So usually some families, they'll have like a spouse, right? Husband and wife. So it'll require both signatures, and both signatures need to be notarized in order for that deed to be, executed. And what else was I gonna say? Yeah, so you're gonna need both signatures.
Okay, that's not a problem. I just wanted to make sure.
Okay, perfect.
My last question, I believe, is about the beneficiaries. You mentioned something in the beginning I think in the earlier pages about who the beneficiary can be.
Yeah. Okay, so the beneficiaries can be natural persons. So those could be your children or your next of kin, right? Whoever you want to inherit your property. So you have a couple of houses. Who do you want to inherit those houses, right? They can also be entities. So a beneficiary can be an LLC, a corporation, another trust. It could be a charity, a society. It could be, pretty much anything. So a beneficiary can be either an
To make sure
entity
this is the right
or
pay
a
that she
person.
attached.
I'm sorry. So it could be a person or an entity that
Yes.
includes another trust or another business LLC.
Yep. Yep. Or a person. Yep.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. That answers my questions.
You're welcome, Cynthia. Thank you for asking that good question. Next, we have Maxine. How are you?
Hey,
Hi.
hold on. Okay.
Hi.
Oh, Lord. Oh, technology. Okay. All right. Great workshop. Learned a lot. I
Thank
guess
you.
I have a few questions.
Yes.
You answered a few. Okay. So I get I guess, or in situations where we're siblings, right? My sister and I are on here, and I was thinking about making her the grantor, but then if she's the grantor, then she can't have power.
Correct.
And it's like, okay, who do we trust outside family to like do everything else? But I guess that's gonna be something that I guess you could do down the line. But the line that said ancestor.
Mm-hmm.
So if your ancestor isn't living, do we put our mother or our father or
Oh,
somebody?
it doesn't have to be a living ancestor. So you could put your grandparents if your grandparents are not living. But see,
Oh,
you just have to understand that that all of the future beneficiaries or
mm.
people who are supposed to be put in as inheritors, they just have to be related to whoever you put as the ancestor. So if it's your grandparents, then you know your children's children are related to your grandparents. Your grandparents are an ancestor to them.
So it could be like, what about if it's a hyphenated like Galloway Todman? Because
Yeah, so that's why on the second line we put the family name. So if it's hyphenated, but then you can put multiple family names. So if you want to put Galloway family or Galloway family and the other
Todman family.
family, you can do that.
Oh, good.
Because a lot,
Okay.
yeah, so a lot of us, we have two families, right? Because some of us will do it with our spouses, and so I'm gonna put my spouse's information, you put your spouse's, information or family name, right? So I'm gonna put my, family name, and he's gonna put his family name, stuff like that. When you
Gotcha.
have, when you have multiple people inside of the trust, yeah.
Okay. And then for assets, now I know you said you don't necessarily have to have something in existence. The business trust can operate as a business, but let's say you want to do it later, you can't, can you add it under the business trust?
Yeah, you can add anything that you want at a later time. So you can make any
Okay.
type of amendments that you feel is necessary for the estate. Yes.
Okay. And then so even if I'm self-employed right now and I started a sole proprietorship, but I'm thinking about just phasing it out and getting an LLC, but I was like undecided. So I think I like this option, not being pressured to get an LLC because I don't know what I want to do just yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so
So
you can create the business trust. The thing with the LLC is that one, you have to go through the Secretary of State to make it. Two, you have to renew it every single year. The minute that you decide that you're not going to renew it, they're going to shut it down and you can't use it. And then
exactly.
you're giving the state the jurisdiction to be able to regulate your LLC. So
Yeah. And then
yeah.
so I know you said not the houses that you are like living currently. But because my sister and I inherited the property in from our mom, and it's just land right now. If we wanted to, like you say, at some point, loan from the trust to build on this as an investment property, then would that be considered like a primary residence, or what? How does that work as far as?
Well, if you're gonna live in it, then yes, right?
No, we
And
don't
so,
want to live in it,
oh,
but
so then it's investment property. It's an investment property, right? So how are you gonna dispose of the property? Are you gonna put a tenant in there, or is it gonna be like farming, or what are
so
you gonna?
it's beachfront property in the British Virgin Islands. So we
Okay,
want to partially, like down there, you could do like a so we wanted to rent out a portion and Airbnb or vacation home a
yeah,
portion, so it's constantly bringing in income. So and then so that we could have like somebody that could stay there and maintain the property. So if that's possible, we wouldn't be per se living in it,
right.
but
It's an investment property, so you have a tenant. You'll have a
okay,
tenant or you're doing short-term rentals. So absolutely that is considered an investment property that can be put under the business.
under the
Under
business, but you
under the
can't but you can't purchase a primary residence to live in under the trust.
so you don't want to put your primary residence in the you don't want to put your primary residence in the business trust. So you
Okay.
want to put your primary residence in your family trust.
Okay. Okay. Primary
Because
residence.
you want to treat your business like a business.
Mhm.
And so you don't want assets that are owned by the business, and you are, having personal gain to where you're, living in it and stuff like that, and you're benefiting from it. So that's why you want to keep it strictly with your
Business.
family trust, because with the family trust, you're able to, to have those, what we call, that's a form of compensation for you to live in trust property for free.
Yeah. And then, and the last question is, you said things that appreciate, but cars, don't they depreciate as soon as they come off the lot? So how do cars count as?
Oh yeah, so that's a good question. And a lot of people get confused with that section, because they think it needs to be all of them. It just needs to be one. So does a car have intrinsic value? Yes, it does, right? Because today, if I wanted to sell that car, I could sell that car in exchange for money. So, and not all cars are depreciating assets. Are they depreciating assets? Yes, right? You drive off the lot, you already done lost 20%, all this stuff. But is it an asset? Yes. Can it be in exchange for money? Yes. Can it turn into cash flow? Yes. So as long as it checks off one of those, boxes, then it qualifies as you being able to, put it in there, right? Versus a cheeseburger, right? You don't want to put a cheeseburger into a trust. You don't want to put, something that doesn't have any value, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you. All right. Next we have Miss Bay. Miss Bay, we lost you. How are you?
Oh man, I'm glad to be back.
Yeah.
My
I
phone
remember
died.
your
I'm like, I saw it shutting down. I'm like, oh man. So I had to hurry up and go get the plug and plug it up. Then I tried to pull it up on the computer, and they're telling me to update Zoom. I'm like, man.
Oh man. That sounds like a lot.
It was busy. Yeah, it's busy. But I just wanted to, I forgot the question that I wanted to ask you.
I remember the
Um,
question. I remember the
okay,
question. So you were
okay,
saying if you have an address that you're already using for
right,
like another entity, can you use it for your trust? So the
right.
question is slow. So as long as you personally are not associated with that address, then
Uh-huh.
you can use it. So let's just say you have a commercial address or a PO box or something that you're already using. As long as it's not associated with your personal name, go ahead and use it.
Okay, because I have my what is it? The ministry trust there. I've been
Okay.
having that there for a while.
Okay. Yeah, and I think that's a good option for you.
Okay, all right. And I needed to ask a couple of more questions if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely.
uh, okay, you said the family trust is to be the beneficiary of the unincorporated business trust, correct?
Correct.
Is
Yeah, if you want to do it that way.
okay, and the business trust is the holding for LLCs to manage other entities.
Yes.
Is there any way that any of the other trusts should be listed as beneficiary? Say, for instance, the ministry trust, is that any way a
Yeah,
beneficiary to any of the trusts?
it's possible if you want to do it that way. So if you want to do it to where the beneficiary of your business trust is the family trust and the ministry trust, you can do it that way. And so
Beneficiary
when
of the
the business,
business trust.
yes, that's
Say that
optional.
again.
So it's optional, right? So you get to choose who your beneficiary is. So if you want the beneficiary of your business trust to be the family trust and the ministry trust, you can do it that way.
Oh, okay. All right. And I think I have one more. Okay. Now, the 100 TCUs, is that for each trust? Do you get 100 TCUs for each trust or just one
Yeah,
trust?
yeah, it's for each trust. You have to remember that every single trust is a separate entity. You're not going to associate my 100 TCUs over here associated with 100 TCUs over here. So these are
Okay.
separate entity, and just in your mind, think of them as they're not associated. They're disassociated. Like one of them is not friends with the other, right? Because one, the contents is different. Two, the entities are totally different. They have different names. They have different EINs. So they are not going to have the same thing, okay? So each individual TCU is going to create 100, each individual trust is going to create 100 TCUs for that particular entity.
Now, I just didn't understand how to, I understand how to distribute it through the family trust. I was not understanding how to distribute it through the business trust and the ministry trust, the TCUs. Would
Yeah,
that
okay.
go to beneficiaries of the family, or would that just stay basically business-like? Business.
So if your beneficiary for your business trust is the family trust, then that means that you're issuing 100 TCUs to the family trust. That means that
Right.
those TCUs belong to the family trust, not the beneficiaries of the family trust, but the family trust, okay? The
Right.
same thing
Okay.
goes for the ministry trust. With the ministry trust, you cannot have a human be the beneficiary of the ministry. So with that
Okay.
being said, it has to be an entity. It has to either
Okay.
be a society, a church, another nonprofit, another LLC or corporation or trust. And so with that being said, whoever you list as the beneficiary of the ministry trust, right, whatever entity, then that entity is going to have 100, TCUs.
Okay. Okay. And let's see. You have to provide a certificate of trust for each trust, for the business trust and the private trust.
Yep, these are separate trusts. You have to do everything identical for all three trusts. You're not going to have
Okay.
one certificate of trust for all three. And the same thing goes with the bank accounts. The same thing goes with the EINs. The same thing goes with your board meetings. So you're literally creating three separate entities and you're operating them all differently, and you're doing board meetings for all of them differently.
And so you said the family trust too. I mean, the ministry trust, the family trust, the business trust, can, what you just said, have a certificate of trust in each one. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All three. Okay, I just want to make sure, because I know I
Yeah.
did. I'm like, am I seeing this twice here, or did I make a mistake? And so no, I said, so I did two certificate of trust, but I got to do a third one. I wasn't clear on that one. And
That's correct.
I think, let's see, each trust needs an EIN. Each trust needs an EIN. Are they all tax exempt, each of these trusts, or do you have to go into
No.
the IRS.gov and make them tax exempt?
No, so the business trust and the family trust, they're not tax exempt. So you're gonna apply for a regular EIN. If you don't want to, then you'll apply for a 98 number as a foreign, as a foreign entity. With the ministry trust is automatically tax exempt, and we're going to apply for the EIN as a tax exempt organization.
Okay, so that's the only one that's tax exempt, not the business or the family. Okay. All right.
Correct.
You answered my questions. Thank you very
All
much. I
right.
appreciate
You're welcome,
it.
Miss Faye. You're welcome. All right, next we have Katie. Hey, Katie.
Hey there, a few more questions. I
Okay.
remember you mentioned that the trust is common law and it has to be seen in a higher court. Can you explain why?
Yeah. Because it's common law, it's a different legal system, right? So you have with your regular court systems, they are what we call statutory court systems. So that's where you're going to be they're going to be reviewing the state statutes and codes. But because your trust is not in the jurisdiction of the state statutes and codes, it doesn't have them within the actual trust, and it's not regulated by the state statutes, that means that that court system is incompetent, right? It cannot, and that's the word that we use, but it's incompetent because it's only seeing cases that are, you know, statutory. And so because that's the case, what you want to do is it has to be seen by a higher court system. So usually that's the Supreme Court where they're able to see common law cases.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you. And
You're
then
welcome.
this is unincorporated. Is there an incorporated trust?
Oh yeah, so no, so incorporated is, you know, the type of entities that those are considered statutory entities. That's the entities that you're using when you are creating them through the state. And another thing is that those are trusts that you're using if you're going to register them, you know, with the public. So this is a private trust, and that's why it's, you know, that's why it's considered unincorporated.
Okay, I understand. Kind of go together. And then I forgot to ask you, somebody else mentioned about the holding company.
Yeah.
So I think when we met, I had kind of explained to you that I had just did my revocable trust, my family trust with an attorney. And so and you had mentioned to someone else, my current home is in there as well as my investment properties and my business. So how does that work now? It's not going to be the same so my current company, not the one I'm about to create, but in relation to the one I have, do I need to do anything with that or just leave that be and then just move forward, use this business trust and a new family trust?
Okay, so with your current trust, because it's revocable, you need to know that it's not what we considered an asset protecting trust, okay?
Yeah.
So creditors that want to come after Katie can come after your trust, okay?
Mhm.
So if that is a concern for you, then what you want to do is you can still use your revocable trust. Like me, I would use it for credit. I would use it to acquire other assets, but then I would move those assets to the irrevocable trust. So, so if you, for example, with your business, if you wanted to leave your business on there because it's you know, technically visible to the public, you can. With your property though, if you want to be protected from, you know, from lien holders being able to take your property, from just regular lawsuits, from foreclosures, from bankruptcies, from even, you know, divorces or anything like that, you want to move it over to an irrevocable trust. So out of your business, you could leave it there. And out of your actual home, you want to move it to the irrevocable trust.
The family one.
Yep, the family one.
Okay. So even though it would still be visible, because right now the deed now says the Katie Reed Revocable Trust, so then it would change again to,
Yep, you're gonna deed it from one trust to the next. So
okay,
so that the Katie Reed Revocable Trust is going to gift it to your new trust. And
okay.
you're not gonna put your full name on that new trust.
Well, see, the concern I had was the duet
The due on
um
sale clause.
one sale clause.
Right, exactly. So the due on sale clause is only applicable if you are transferring that property from one name to another name, and if you're selling that property from one person to another person. It is not applicable if you are moving that property into a trust.
Okay,
So you don't have to be concerned with that at all.
okay. I always get mixed reviews when
So
people when I
yeah, so there's something called the St. Garn is it St. Garn Germain Act or St. Germain Garn Act? And that is where you are fully protected to where it doesn't trigger the due on sale clause if you transfer the property into a trust.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good. I think that was my last. And then as far as the holding company, so can you explain that a little bit more, or is that really pertain in this context?
Okay, so with the holding company, right? So, and we're gonna get into some stuff on Thursday as well, dealing with the holding company. But what makes your business trust a holding company is the operation of the actual entity. So with your business trust, if you want to operate it as a holding company, it's going to be non-operational, meaning that you are not going to provide any products or services. So it's going to be used as serving as the owner of the other entities. Okay. So the other entities, the LLCs, that is the entity that's going to be fully operational, that's going to have the employees, that's going to have, all of these business contracts, that's going to provide products and services to the community, to the society, to, that's dealing commercially. Okay. And the business trust is only going to serve as being the owner of that operational business and hold the assets of that operational business. So that's it. That is the sole purpose, and that is how that entity is going to be managed. Okay. So that's what makes it a holding company. And then once you're establishing it, we do on Thursday we'll do it together, but we do like SIC codes where you're actually identifying the industry of that entity is, is a holding company. So it's used to hold and manage other entities.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
So you're welcome. You're welcome. And so with the business trust is going to serve as that first layer of protection just in case somebody decides to sue your LLC. Okay, so if they sue your LLC, they're gonna they can potentially go after the owner, and so they'll potentially go after the trust and not you. Yeah. All right, next we have Marquita. Hey, Marquita.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Good, good, good. I have a quick question. About the relationship, the beneficiary relationships, that could get really confusing as to who could inherit what. So if you have a business trust, and let's say I'm the trustee and I'm operating it, and then I guess if something happens to me, and you said the beneficiary could be your family, right? But what if you wanted your kids to um like be the successor after that? Would they automatically become the trustee of the business while still being a beneficiary, or still be a beneficiary of the family trust? Is that a
Yes.
thing? Okay.
Yeah, it is. It is. So you can label your child as the successor of the business trust. And the family trust is, a separate trust. So even though they're the beneficiary of that trust, it doesn't prevent them from being the successor of this one because they're separate entities. Also, a beneficiary can be a trustee, but they cannot be the sole beneficiary. Okay. So I can't be the only trustee and the only beneficiary. It doesn't work like that with an irrevocable trust. So there would have to be multiple beneficiaries in order for me to hold TCUs and for me to have some type of beneficial interest in the trust.
Okay, good. So a beneficiary can be a trustee, but just can't be the sole one. Okay. And so
Correct.
they could get benefits from either one.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. And then we have Cynthia.
Hi, Christina. Two more questions.
All right.
Did you mention that the grantor could also be a beneficiary or cannot be a beneficiary?
Cannot. The grantor cannot hold any other position. The grantor can only be the grantor, and that is it.
Okay. For the existing LLC, if it was incorporated in a different state, is that the state that has to be put on the trust?
No, it's not associated.
Okay, so when I complete this document, I can put New York down as the state where it was born.
Correct. You can put New York as a residency, even if your LLC was, established in Wyoming or
Okay.
any other state.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, Taisha. You on mute, Taisha. No, we cannot hear you. Maybe your volume is down. Let's see. Mute. No. Can you guys hear Taisha? Because I can't hear her, but I see her mic is open.
No, we can't hear her either. Perhaps it's the earplug, the earphone.
Yeah, you want to unplug it for a second? Maybe we could hear you after that. Nope.
Can you hear?
Yeah, you coming in. You're coming in there. Hello? Nope.
Okay. You can hear me now?
Yes, yeah, perfect.
Don't answer me until I put the headphone back in because I can't hear you through the speaker.
Oh, that's crazy. Okay.
So the question is, the grantor can be an ancestor. And I was going to use my grandmother, but then, like you said, it doesn't have to be a living person. So how do you go about getting that notarized when you're ready to notarize the trust? Okay, I'm going to put my headphones back in so I can hear you.
Okay, so first of all, you guys, Taisha is my cousin. Look at how beautiful she is, okay? She lives in New York. So we get in this whole generational wealth thing together. So that is a really good
Yes.
question, and I get that question all the time. So the grantor has to be a living person. The grantor. They have to be a living person. They have to be able to notarize the trust with you, okay? The ancestor is a different person. The ancestor could be you. The ancestor could be your parents. The ancestor could be your grandparents. The ancestor, when we're talking about the inheritance of the TCUs and keeping it in the family, that individual doesn't have to be living. So if we was going to put our grandmother, we could put our grandmother's name in that section. She does not have to be living, right? But the person that you're listing as the grantor of the trust, that individual needs to be living and they need to notarize the trust. That's the only way that the trust is going to become legal, is by the grantor and you signing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. So you also said it could be a neighbor. So if you were to approach someone who's not related, let's say this person has their own debts, maybe losing their house, whatever the case is, going bankrupt. Does that affect you if they become your grantor for your trust? And how would you approach somebody? Because that's something that's also kind of asking like someone to be your co-sign on a property. They may not understand, what that entails, like being your grantor on your trust. Putting my headphones back in now.
Okay. So that's a good question. So, one, the grantor has no power and no control. So what you have to do is you have to educate them and let them know, right? So you can provide them with research. It's pretty much everywhere, right? Even the IRS even lets you know that with an irrevocable trust, they don't have power or control. So you have to educate them and let them know, hey, I am starting or establishing an irrevocable trust. I cannot be the grantor or the creator on paper. So I need someone to serve as the grantor or creator on paper. I would like for you to be my grantor. So you don't have anything to worry about, because with this type of trust, you don't have any power or any control. You can't benefit from the trust. And if anything dealing with the trust, it can't come back to you. Meaning that if the trust has income, it can't come to you. If the trust has debt or taxes or anything, it can't come after you, and vice versa. So if you have any income, it can't be taxed to the trust. If you have any debt or anything, they can't come after the trust. So both of you guys have that both have that sense of like protection. So you would just have to provide them with that, with that education to let them know, hey, I just need you to be my grantor on paper, which means that you have to, the only thing you have to do is notarize the trust. And then you can literally walk away from the trust, and the trust is legal. And me as a trustee, I'm going to continue to operate the trust. So I'm going to have all of the responsibilities, and I'm going to operate my trust, you know, the way that I need to, and nothing is going to come back to you. So you can let them know that. One thing that I do want you to know is that sometimes when we are opening up bank accounts, they ask for the grantor information. And so at that point in time, you can either decline, but then most likely they're not going to open up a bank account for you. Or you can provide them with the grantor information, but then the grantor has to be comfortable with giving you their information. So sometimes some banks will ask you for their name and will ask you for their social. And so that can become a problem. And it's not only, I've seen it not only with banks, I've also seen it with insurance companies as well. So it's these, you know, financial institutions, even brokerages too. So you might you might come across this when you start operating your trust. So you want it to be someone who is, you know, comfortable enough just in case that, you know, that bridge gets there, that you can actually cross that bridge. I've seen it to where some people, they had to change their grantor. So and luckily they didn't like notarize the trust yet. They had to change their grantor just to be able to, you know, fulfill that one obligation. So it depends, but I want you to know that that's something that might happen.
I have one last question.
Okay.
Now, if the grantor is one of your parents, and could you put your grantor's life insurance into your trust? And if so, would that be the private family trust and not the business trust?
Correct.
Yeah.
So, yep. Okay, so anybody can gift any asset into the trust. So that means that your grantor can put property into the trust. That is the way the trust is designed. It's designed to where the grantor is actually going to put assets into the trust. So can they put their insurance policy? Absolutely, yes. So your insurance policies, you really want them to be owned by your family trust, because with your family trust, your children are the beneficiaries, and you know that those assets go straight to them. And it's not really business associated unless you're like the key person in that business, right? And then it's not really associated with the ministry unless you are being, you know, strategic when it comes to using the ministry. So really you want to put it in the family trust. So yes, your grantor, they can put their insurance policy into the trust, and the trust will now be the owner of the grantor's policy, the payer of the grantor's policy, and the beneficiary of the grantor's policy, because the grantor is not going to benefit from their own insurance policy. It's the trust that's going to benefit, and it's the trustee that's going to now control it. And so the grantor is just going to be the insured.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. All right, we got Cynthia, and then we're going to wrap it up. I'm going to let you guys know what the insurance is. I mean, insurance. Okay. The the homework. All right, guys. So Cynthia.
Last
All
question. I just want to know when
close us out with the last question, Cynthia.
Yes. When is this recording going to be available?
Oh, that's a good question. Oh my God, Cynthia's strict, you guys. She want to know when the clock, like we haven't even ended the call, and she want to know when is the record. Okay. So Aya, my assistant, she's going to upload it today. So usually like within 2 hours. So as soon as Zoom allows us to download it, then we're going to put it inside of the portal. So do you have access to the portal? Everyone on this call should have a login and a password. You have to log into the portal, and you will see two I never know how to say this word, but two like courses, I guess. And so one is going to be where you have the course, and the other one is going to be the workshop recordings. So go to the workshop recordings, and then you'll scroll down to the bottom and you'll see today's date, and then you'll see the actual recording for today's workshop. So it's going to be in the online portal, okay? Sounds good?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. All right. So for the homework for today, you guys, today's homework is for you, one, to join the Facebook group. Okay. We need you in the Facebook group. Let me actually pull up the Facebook group. So one, we need you in the Facebook group. And then two, we want to know. So go ahead. We want to know who you are, right? So go ahead and introduce yourself. So let me pull this up if I can. Let me
Damn,
pull
she
it.
got in a Facebook group and you see her?
Hold on.
Like,
Hold
hey,
on
I'm bragging on you.
I hear you. Okay, hold on. Let me go to groups, and then boom. Okay, perfect. All right, here we go. So let me share my screen here. And then boom, here we go. All right, guys. So this is our Facebook community. So it's called the Wealthy Trustee Community. We have 247 members in our private community, you guys. So what I want, and I am so sorry, I forgot to introduce you guys to Dana Flores. Dana is the program director, right? So she is the manager of the Wealthy Trustee Community. She's on the call right now. So she is your go-to person. She's your resource, okay? So any questions that you guys might have, you can email her. Her email address is support@7waystowealth.com. You can also email me. My email is info@7waystowealth.com. But Dana, when I tell you she's on top of it, she is. So if you post a question, she is going to have it answered within 24 hours, okay? So I want you to post in the Facebook community and go ahead and introduce yourself, okay? We want to know who you are because you are joining our community with over 247 people, okay? So that is the homework for today. Go ahead, and if you could do a video introduction, that would be great. If not, post a picture, let everyone know who you are, okay? We want to know. So that is the homework. So let me go ahead and actually get the link. Let's see, what's the link here? Copy link. I'm going to put that in the chat right now, you guys. So if you're not in the Facebook community, please get in the Facebook community. And you might be in another Facebook group that we have, which is called 7 Ways to Wealth, but you want to be in this one, okay? So you need to be in the Wealthy Trustee Community. So I'm putting it in the chat right now, and go ahead and wait a minute, hold on. Let me put it in the chat. There we go. All right, so it's in the chat. So go ahead and join the Facebook community. Go ahead and introduce yourself, okay? Let us know why you joined the community. We want to know, and we want to get to know you, and we want to know where you're from and everything like that. There's a lot of people from a lot of places, right? There's a lot of people from Florida, Georgia, New York, California, Utah. So we just want to know like who you are, where you're from, and you know why you're joining the community. So that is the homework for tonight. And we will see you tomorrow, okay? So tomorrow we are going over the private family trust, okay? So you will receive an email tomorrow morning, at least an hour before the workshop, and it's going to be from Aya, my assistant, and she's going to provide you with all the resources that you're going to need. So you're going to need that template for the actual trust, okay? And then you're going to need the specific Zoom link. So it's not going to be this Zoom link. We do a new Zoom link every single day, you guys, okay? So I will see you tomorrow here on Zoom, and let's get ready to to actually set up our family trust. So have that family trust name ready. If you need an address for your trust, have that ready to go. You also want to create an email address for your trust because we're going to be needing that on Thursday. Okay, know what assets you want to put inside the trust. So today's email, you did receive the asset inventory list. So you want to start working on that, okay? Start working on that asset inventory list because by Friday, we're going to be transferring assets into that family trust, okay, guys? So you guys have a blessed day. Thank you so much for being here, participating, staying for the entire almost 2.5 hours. Wait, no, 3 hours. Oh my gosh, guys, I gotta go. So thank you so much. I'll see you guys tomorrow. All right.
Thank you
Andre
very
said,
much. Tomorrow's my birthday. Let's roll tomorrow.
oh,
Happy
let's
71.
go, Miss Faye.
We
Okay.
bringing
What-
it in.
What time
Yes,
tomorrow?
ma'am.
11 a.m.?
Yep, same time tomorrow. And you're going to
Thank you.
receive the reminder email and text. Andre said, happy birthday, Miss Bay. Thank you, Andre. Look at that. Andre is a
Oh,
trooper.
thank you, sweetheart. I appreciate it. I'm happy to be making 71 and even to see it.
That's a blessing. That's a blessing. My mom, she passed away at 61. So you got 10 years on her. Let's go.
Wow, that's what I'm talking about. Thank you,
Yeah.
honey. You take
You're
care of yourself. And thank you for all of your wisdom. I really appreciate you. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Thank you as well. Andre said his birthday was last Monday. Happy belated birthday. Awesome.
Happy birthday.
And T said happy birthday. TJ said happy birthday. Awesome.
Thank you,
All right,
thank
guys.
you.
I'll see you guys tomorrow, 11 a.m., same time, okay? So just look out for your email